record this session. Great. All right. So we're recording and we'll go ahead and get started. So again, hello, my name's Lou Sims. I'm a senior investment officer with the Maine Technology Institute. And I'm here today to talk to you about the Maine Technology Asset Fund. So as I mentioned, we've got about 10 slides to work through. Shouldn't take me more than 15 minutes or so. And once we get through the slides, we'll take as much time as needed to answer everybody's questions. So that's the goal of the session here today, is to get folks' questions answered, make sure you've got the info you need to put your application together. So just briefly, some basic background on the Maine Technology Institute. We are a nonprofit that been around for about 25 years. We are tasked with diversifying Maine's economy by investing in innovation and helping Maine-based companies create innovative products and leading to revenue growth and quality job creation for Maine people. So we generally do that with an annual appropriation from the state budget. And in addition to that funding that we deploy annually, we are also asked to help the state deploy other funds from time to time. Most recently, over the course of the pandemic recovery funding, we helped the state deploy a number of programs that came from those funds. And now we've got another opportunity here with the $25 million research bond that was passed last year. So as you may recall, Maine's legislature approved this legislation back in April of 2024. And then the voters of Maine, it went to state referendum, and the voters of Maine approved the bond with 54% approval last November. And so this bond, the state is borrowing $25 million, which MTI is now tasked with deploying to invest in research, development, and commercialization infrastructure projects. So there's a number of legal requirements connected to these dollars. First thing is that these investments have to be awarded through a competitive process. So the application deadline is November the 13th, and we'll be scoring all the applicants and ranking all of the applications, and we'll deploy as many awards as we can make with the 25 million that we have available. The legislation requires that these MTAF investments be matched at least 1-to-1 on behalf of the applicants. So whatever amount of MTAF funding you're requesting, it has to be a MTAF project that is at least twice that amount of money to demonstrate at least 1-to-1 match in investments over the course of the project timeline. There's specific technology sectors that the legislature called out in the legislation as well. And we will get to those on the next slide. A few basic eligibility requirements. Obviously, you'll need to be registered with the Maine Secretary of State's corporate registry. The goal of these investments is to create Maine-based jobs. So you'll have to be able to demonstrate your Maine-based location. There is flexibility for companies that are planning to establish Maine-based operations. If you can submit the application with the plans to deploy the Maine-based operations, but you would have to be able to, before we could deploy any funding, you'd have to be able to demonstrate that the Maine-based location is established and you've got all your registrations in good standing with the state. I mentioned the matching investments requirement. Another piece of the state statute requirements is that these MTAF dollars must be used for capital expenditures. So these basically means investments that you're going to classify as capital expenses on your business tax filings. So things like, pieces of equipment and production machinery and, expanding your existing facilities or establishing new facilities. Certain technology upgrades can potentially be capitalized as well. That really is the kind of determining factor is whatever you're proposing to use MTAF dollars on, you're going to have to be filing those expenses as capital expenses on your business tax filings. And as I noted, there are some specific technology sectors where the legislature directed us to invest these dollars. They align very much with MTI's existing technology sectors: life sciences and biomedical, environmental and renewable energy, information technologies, technologies for forestry and agriculture, aquaculture and marine technologies, composites and advanced materials, and precision manufacturing. As I mentioned, the MTAF dollars do have to be spent on eligible capital expenses. And so again, we're looking for infrastructure investments that are going to help companies, fuel innovation. In some way, there needs to be some sort of, making, breaking, testing component to the project and the infrastructure that's being added. When it comes to the matching investments, there is more flexibility in terms of what you can do with the money. So while the MTAF funds do have to be spent on the hard assets, the matching funds can go towards other project-related expenditures. So things like labor costs, whether that's existing staff, new staff that you're hiring, contractors or consultants that are in some way involved with your project, those are all eligible expenditures. Let's see here. And that's actually one thing to specify. So the way the MTAF application is structured, there's a project, it's a project specific application. So you'll propose an MTAF project and an MTAF project timeline, which can stretch out a few years depending on how big of a project this is. And over the course of the project timeline, you'll need to be able to demonstrate the use of both your MTAF requested funds as well as your committed matching investments. So as far as the amounts of funding available, the maximum request for the MTAF application is $2.5 million. The investments will be made as zero interest loans that we will be deploying on a relatively patient repayment timeline. There is a potential for up to half of the amount borrowed to be forgiven over time if the borrowers demonstrate success in achieving the impact projections that are presented in the MTAF application materials. The reason we're taking this approach is so that we can take those repayments and recycle those dollars into another round of MTAF applications in a few years' time. We are also allowing nonprofits, research institutions to apply for the MTAF dollars. The nonprofits will have the opportunity to potentially win funding without the same repayment obligations. As I mentioned, the application deadline is November the 13th, Thursday, November the 13th at 5 p.m. The steps of the process kind of start by going to the MTAF webpage, which I'll pop up here on the screen for a moment. Everyone should be familiar with this screen because this is where you go to register for the Zoom sessions. In the middle of the webpage here is the How Do I Apply section. So this is where you want to go. There's a couple of documents here that you need to download, the acknowledgement form as well as the main application document. We've also got some guidance on the rest of the steps here, which looks a lot like the guidance on the first page of the application document. When you download it from the website, this is what it looks like. This is a 4-page document. You can use this document as your application. So you can save this document to your desktop, and you can start to update your responses to the questions on the following pages. I'll just briefly scroll through to see, there's questions about the company and the impact projections, the existing impact in terms of how many people you currently employ and how they're compensated, questions about your team, what's your innovation, what's the market need, what's the business model, and your financial assumptions moving forward, and then more details about the project timeline and the proposed outcomes and deliverables and matching funds. So these are the things that you'll need to be able to provide information on for the application. And then once you've got the responses to this application document completed, look at step 2 here. The checklist tells you the other things you'll need. There's the applicant acknowledgement form. We'll need a W-9, basic financial statements, prior year financial statements, as well as the current year to date. And then we'll also be asking for income statement projections through 2027. We'll also need a payroll register, a current payroll register to serve as the baseline, which we'll use for the job creation metrics and for building out the partial loan forgiveness formula in the MTAF loan agreement if you are selected for funding. And you do also have the opportunity to add some additional supporting documents. You could use a pitch deck if you're raising investment dollars to serve as your matching funds, or if you have a existing business plan document, or perhaps some other compelling market research that you've done, other data that you think would be helpful to your application. You have the option to add those documents as you see fit. So all of these items are the things you'll need to have compiled before you access the online application portal. There's really no need to go to the online application until you have all of these documents compiled and all of your responses to the application completed. Once you've done that, the link to the online application portal is right here in step 3 of the instructions. And this is the only place where that link exists. So you'll click that link, you'll log into our application portal. If it's your first time using MTI, we have a new online application portal. That new portal has some updates in the last few months, which are meant to create a more user-friendly experience. So hopefully that you will find that to be the case. If you have any issues navigating the online portal, you can reach out to our team. We've got an email address, mtaf@maintechnology.org, specific to the MTAF-related application. And hopefully you'll find the online application portal instructions relatively straightforward. So you'll use your email address to create a username, and then you'll have a login password as well. You'll log in, and then you'll be prompted to add your business information into the system, and then you'll go to the online form, which has a few tabs. There's a number of data fields in the online form as well, things about basic contact information, and then some basic metrics about current employees and compensation. And then you'll come to the section of the online portal to upload all of these documents. So navigating the online portal can take up to 30 minutes. So make sure you give yourself plenty of time before the application deadline to get this stuff submitted. Generally, I'd encourage people to try to get it done a week or two ahead of the deadline, if at all possible. Once you've completed the online application, you will get an email notification confirming that you have in fact completed the online form, the online submission, and you'll need to have the online application successfully completed by that deadline at 5 p.m. on November 13th. And once we get past the application deadline, we will work through the review process in the coming weeks with a goal of having the award notification sent out by the end of January of next year. We'll certainly try to work through the applications as quickly as possible. We are expecting probably upwards of in the range of 200 or so applications. So there will be applications far in excess of the $25 million we have available to deploy. So it is going to be a challenging job. There's going to be a lot of compelling projects that we're simply not going to have enough money to fund. But we will do the best we can to make as many investments as possible. What's driving the scoring for the applications really focused on the impact, the economic impact that is being projected in the proposal, and the viability of those economic impact projections. It's one thing to say you're going to create a bunch of jobs, but it's another thing to put together a compelling case for how those jobs will actually manifest over time and be sustained with a compelling innovation that solves a problem in the market. So we want to be able to see that there's a viable path forward for repayment on the MTAF loan, and we'll want to see a clear project plan and a reasonable project timeline that demonstrates the required matching investments along the way. So as I mentioned, the for-profit companies that receive MTAF funding, these dollars will be deployed on a relatively patient zero interest loan. The repayment period will not begin. Well, I'm sorry, the repayment period will be scheduled to begin based on your proposed project timeline. So if you were to propose a 2-year project, then the repayment term would begin based on that schedule. So, if you proposed a 2-year project and, we signed the contract in January of 2026, then the repayment schedule would be set to begin in January of 2028. And over the first 4 years of the repayment term, the first 50% of the amount borrowed will need to be repaid. And after the first 4 years of the repayment schedule, we will make a final determination on any partial loan forgiveness to be granted. And that will be based on the reporting that you submit to MTI over the course of the project timeline and the repayment period. So over this time period, you'll be required to submit quarterly updates to MTI, basic financial updates, income statement and balance sheet, as well as a current payroll register, so we can track the job creation numbers over time. And when we build out the MTAF loan contract early next year, after we announce the selected companies, we will include in the MTAF loan contract, obviously, the repayment schedule, but also a very specific formula for any loan forgiveness to be granted at the end of the 4th year of the repayment term. That will be, again, the formula will be based on the economic impact projections that the company includes in the MTAF application. So if you propose creating 10 jobs over the course of the project, the forgiveness formula will hold you to that projection. So if you don't create the full number of 10 jobs planned over the course of the project timeline in the first 4 years of the repayment schedule, you can obtain a partial loan forgiveness based on the progress you do make toward that projection goal. So if you made 5 hires, and if you sustained 5 hires instead of 10, you could get half of that amount of potential forgiveness granted. And then we will be flexible with folks. If you need a couple more years to get that remaining balance repaid, we'll be willing to spread the repayment schedule out over a couple more years based on the company's financial position at the time. So those are the basics of how the loan forgiveness portion of the awards works. It looks like we've got a number of questions in the chat, so I will start going through those. Bear with me while I pull them up here. Try to start from the top. All right, let's see here. Okay, does match have to be cash, or can we offer in-kind services? Generally speaking, we're going to need to see one-to-one cash investment in the MTAF project. You could include other match as part of your additional match beyond that one-to-one requirement, but that's generally going to be a part of the expectation, is that there will be matching investments along the way. All righty, and I think I addressed the question about missing the additional employees. Again, we'll make the formula as clear as possible in the MTAF loan contract that we sign in the new year. But yes, there'll be a potential to obtain a portion of the loan forgiveness, even if you don't achieve 100% of your projected impact. All right, we got a question. For software-based R&D companies that don't have significant hard asset capital expenses, would it be expensive to use MTAF funding for R&D labor? Okay, so I'd say that is less. It really comes down to how if you're able to make a case for it being capitalized as a capital expense on your tax filings, it's possible. I think generally speaking, though, the idea here is that we're investing in hard assets for the most part. So I think that's really that's definitely what the project is geared for. I mean, I think we're obviously the requirement there around the bond funds being used for hard assets is a relatively it's been on the books for a little while, I think. So it probably needs to get updated based on the technology world we're living in today. But that's what we're being directed with as of today. So I think that it's using the MTAF dollars on like the labor, probably not going to work. However, your matching funds could certainly go towards labor costs relative to your MTAF project timeline. Okay. Could you clarify what you mean by contractors? In the sixth question of the application document reads, how many part-time employees and or contractors does your business currently have in Maine? Does this include companies on contract to do facility, HV? I think this is I think it's a contractor who's working more than 20 hours a week, essentially for the company. So I think that's what we're looking at there, not necessarily for contractors doing repairs or very short-term work. Now you could certainly, there's another question a little bit further down in the application that asks about what are your other impacts in Maine. So if you have a lot of Maine based vendors that you work with, or suppliers, or contractors of different kind providing different contracted services, you can certainly add that into the application to kind of give the full picture of the impact your business is having. All righty. Is there a benefit to providing greater than one-to-one match? There's not a huge benefit in terms of the scoring. I think if there's a greater than one-to-one match, there's probably going to be a stronger impact overall. So in that sense, it would probably rate a bit higher in the scoring if it's a larger project and there's a significant amount of new jobs created and new revenue being generated. Those are all things that we want to see, more of. So I'd say generally it won't hurt your application to match more than one for sure. For the payroll register, can this be an Excel spreadsheet? Yes. I think we're going to be relatively, we're going to try to work with companies to provide the information in the format that works for them. So yeah, however you're currently tracking your payroll, we should be able to make that work. Okay. Does the matched private funding need to be obtained prior to applying, during the course of the loan, or concurrent with the award? All right, good question. So the matching funds don't have to be on your balance sheet when you submit the application. If some of them are, that is a slight that works in your favor as far as scoring the application. But you could certainly be in a position where, let's say, you're requesting $1 million of MTAF funding, and you're wanting to you're planning to match that with $1 million of investment capital that you're in the process of raising right now. So that would be allowable. And if you were able to score high enough to get selected for funding, what would then happen is, after we announce the awards in January, we'd start working with you to put together the MTAF loan contract. And then if before we could sign the MTAF contract, you would need to be able to demonstrate that you have successfully completed the investment round and secured the investment capital. So whether it's investors or some other funding opportunity, or some sort of, could be a loan or even a line of credit, those are all options that you can take, and you'll just need to be able to demonstrate the matching funds are secured before we sign the loan contract, and of course before we put any funding out the door. So we'll give selected applicants up to 6 months after we announce the awards to get those matching funds secured. And if at that point they're not secured, we'll likely have to move on to the next highest scoring applicant. Let's see. Business owners be required to make personal guarantees for loan repayment. Generally, we are not requiring personal guarantees on the loan repayments. So that is not planned as part of the MTAF loan agreements. Let's see, what information do you need in the payroll register? Employee name and title enough. We will actually, so we'll want employee name, title, address of their residence, because we'll want to be tracking Maine-based employees versus other employees, and also, of course, the full wages, as well as benefits, the cost of benefits being paid. All right, let's see. Okay, can the project begin after notification of award, but before funds received? Yes. In fact, so your MTAF project timeline, the earliest allowable start date is the date by which you submit your finalized application materials through the online portal. So obviously that'll have to be no later than the 13th of November. You could submit your online application materials next week, and you could start claiming your application. I'm sorry, you could start claiming your matching expenditures as of that date. So that as far as you can't claim as matching funds dollars that you've already spent, but you can start, like I said, you can start your project timeline for purposes of tracking your matching investments as of the day you submit the finalized application materials to the online portal. Okay, let's see here. Does paragraph E of item 6, the acknowledgement document, mean that using a grant writer? I don't have the answer to that question off the top of my head. I'll have to double check on that one and get back to you on that. Let's see here. I don't believe that's what it's intended to mean. So you should be able to, if you need some help, it should be acceptable. I'll double check that one. Do you have a rough idea of how you plan to allocate the funds between for-profit companies and nonprofits? No, there is not a specific formula that we've made to allocate a certain amount. We're going to get all the applications in and score them all, and then we'll see where we land. Let's see here. Okay, you said something to the effect of the project must be at least twice the loan amount to demonstrate one-to-one. So if I have a project that is assessed to cost 2 million, I would be good to request a loan of 1 million. Yes. Okay, that is accurate. So yeah, so like I said, if you want $1 million of MTAF funding, then you'll need to propose an MTAF project that's at least a $2 million project, so you can demonstrate your one-to-one matching investments along the way. My question is, how much does it improve the scoring if a company demonstrates it has the matching funds up front? I mean, it's not a huge difference. It's really more kind of, I think it's a question of, if you don't have the matching funds up front, what kind of confidence level do we have that the matching funds can be secured? Like, for example, if you're going to go raise investment capital to secure the matching funds, have you successfully raised investment capital previously, or is this just kind of your first time you're going to try to try your best to get it done? So I think it does, the viability of securing the matching funds certainly comes into play. So there'll be a slight benefit to having the funds already secured. But if you don't have the funds secured, and you can make a pretty strong case for, hey, listen, we've got a clear plan here for how to get these matching funds secured. So that it won't hit you up too bad in the scoring. But if it's more of a thing where it's a long shot to get the matching funds, that'll probably weigh against you a little more, and it'll probably kind of come across in other aspects of the application as well. Let's see here. For payroll addresses, would just town and zip code suffice? Yeah, I think town and zip code is fine. Let's see here. Will there be an equal distribution of funded projects across each project category? I think that might mean the different technology sectors. No, there's not a requirement to have an equal amount to each technology sector. Again, we'll be scoring them all. We are certainly planning to, we will be taking a portfolio approach. I mean, the legislature approved this funding with the expectation that we will deploy it throughout the state. So, in terms of our economic impact, we're certainly taking geography into account as well. So, we do intend to make sure that investments are being made all throughout the state. And that was the last question right there. So yeah, that's certainly, part of the scoring we'll take into account, where folks are. And I mean, it's not like you're going to be penalized for being in southern Maine. But we are going to try to take into account both the geographic location, as well as the size of the company, and as well as the stage of the company as well. We're trying to take a portfolio approach here. We can make a few different investments, but there's not specific allocations, specific dollar amounts that we're committing to any specific categories up front. Okay, so I think that is all of the questions that are in the chat typed out. So I will take this time now to anybody else who wants to ask a question, you can feel free to unmute yourself and just chime in. Or you can type another question into the chat. I'll continue to keep an eye on the chat here. Let's see here. We've made it through all the slides, and we made it through all the questions that are in the chat. So folks can stay on the line if they'd like. You're welcome to go ahead and sign off now as well. That's all the information I've got to share. Like I said, I'll continue to stay on the line here for a couple more minutes, though, just in case there's anybody who wants to ask a question. We don't have the slides up on the website yet. We are going to attempt to get a recording up here eventually on the webpage. We will certainly be trying to upload some frequently asked questions to the webpage in the next week or so as well. And we've got a few weeks until the application deadline. So we certainly wish everyone the best of luck. And if you have any questions that are, if there's any specific questions that you'd rather not ask on the Zoom session here, you can go ahead and email us at mtaf@maintechnology.org. We'll try to get back to you as quick as possible. So I am going to go ahead and stop the recording.